We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and now, our World Broadcasting Tag Team Champions of the World and our Cruiserweight Champion.
I'm Ethan.
I'm James.
I'm Rob.
And this is episode 147 of Beyond the Ropes. We are BTR Pro Wrestling Talk. First off, before we do anything, I have to acknowledge the head of the table, our tribal chief, Roman Reigns, because he's at the top of the show or close with him. So, James, I tweeted you and Rob, although Rob doesn't check Twitter apparently, but I tweeted you, James, and Rob, mentioned you at a post WWE tweeted stating you got two options. One option, you acknowledge Roman Reigns, or option two, you end up like Dominic Mysterio did the other week, getting powerbombed outside of the ring. He was literally tossed from inside the ring to the outside. It was very terrifying. So go ahead, James. Go ahead. Are you ready?
Throw me, Roman.
Oh Lord! One of these days, you're gonna respect.
One of these days. And you try to get me on the LA Knight bandwagon. We'll talk a little bit more about that later.
We're gonna talk about him. We'll hold off on him. Don't worry, we got plenty to talk about him.
Okay.
Roman Reigns. All right, get that out of the way. We gotta acknowledge Roman Reigns. Let's quickly mention Seth Rollins, because why not? Let's just talk about him.
What has he been doing?
He was just on Ding Dong Hello with Bailey. They had an incredible segment together. You need to watch that segment if you have not seen that segment. Unfortunately, it was ruined by that, Cesaro, that dastardly Cesaro had to ruin that moment. Bianca Belair as well.
They're still doing that, huh?
Yep. So, of course, Hell in a Cell happened this past weekend. We'll talk about that on next week's episode. You'll find our predictions on Twitter.
Yep.
But we have another event that we have to get through. Of course, if you look at my background here, kind of phasing through me here, it's NXT TakeOver in Your House 2021. Solid show, solid takeover. Were you able to catch it?
I caught some bits and pieces of it. I know at least one match I kind of hinted at already that I may not have been particularly thrilled with. All
right, so we'll talk about that. Let's get into the first match here. I'll get our predictions up here, so that we can go. I think most of us had pretty similar predictions here.
Because you guys all copied me. Can we get that out of the way right now?
I don't think so. I don't know where you're getting this. This is, conspiracy theory that we're all copying you, James. Not true. The first match. Well, first off, we kicked off with a nice little retro style introduction. Was it?
They bring Todd Pettengill back.
He hosted the show. Yes, he was brought back. They brought in, I think her name is Naomi Fox, and she was kind of singing the old school intro. I don't know if she was the original singer of like the theme song or something, but she came out and performed. It was lip synced, so it was very, very obvious it was lip synced. But she came out and did a song. Todd Pettengill welcomed us to the show and introduced us to the first match, which was the 6-man winners take all match between the team of Joaquin Wilde, Raul Mendoza, and Santos Escobar taking on MSK and why am I forgetting? Bronson Reed. Getting the North American champion's name there, but it's all right. This was a phenomenal opening match. I'll have some Bleacher Report here, has kind of a little breakdown here, so credit to Bleacher Report. Mendoza and Lee started off for their respective teams with an exchange of quick takedown attempts before Carter and Wilder tagged in and did their own routine. Neither team had a clear advantage until Reed came in. So there was a good back and forth. This was a quick paced match, of course, as you would expect from a bunch of high flyers. They're not all high flyers, but they're very agile athletes for
Hey,
sure.
Reed gets up on that top rope, doesn't he? Isn't that his finisher?
He did. He does move. He does move fast for a bigger guy there for sure. And it'll be in use in just a little bit here. Escobar found a way to finally, or I would say he tried to pick up Reed, ended up getting squashed literally. You don't pick up, the mammoth,
Yeah, you don't.
the colossal Bronson Reed. There.
Never worked out.
No. The North American champion almost pinned him with the slam before he and MSK hit a triple G move for another 2 counts. Everyone took turns hitting the dives, which was a nice little spot.
A triple team move for a 2 count?
That's right. I think it was interrupted, if I'm not mistaken.
I would hope so.
All right.
Be kicking out of moves like that.
All right. You're listening to too much Cornette here. I know.
I mean, those are just the rules.
Those are just
Cornette don't gotta tell me that. I mean, that's just if 3 people put you down, they put you down.
I forget what the move was. It may not have been as effective.
I mean, yeah, it may have been just one guy power bombing him and then the other one just touching the shoulder or whatever.
Yeah, it could have been one of those.
I get it, but if you're trying to sell it like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, Rob, there was not a cruiserweight match. There was one in NXT, which we'll get into in a bit.
This was the cruiserweight match.
And you got a bunch of cruiserweight. I mean, you got the former cruiserweight champion, Santos Escobar, and then, of course, his colleagues there. But continuing on, everyone took turns hitting the dives until Reed took out everyone with a gigantic suicide dive. So there we go, using his size and speed to his advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Then we ended up getting Legado, the Fantasma, getting some control finally, because for the first half of the match, it looks like they were just getting destroyed by MSK and Reed. Obviously having the size advantage there. They kept Wesley isolated in their corner for quick tags. Reed ended up putting Escobar through the barricade. So he squished him on the previous episode of NXT. But this time he went through the barricade and took down the whole plexiglass, eliminating him from the equation. Ultimately, MSK and took out Wild and hit their finisher on Mendoza or Wild. I forget which one took the pin. But then Reed hit his tsunami to get the victory. The champions retained their gold. So nice little start to their match there.
And who predicted that, right?
And for predictions, let's see. James predicted Reed and MSK would end up retaining.
Ooh, I was like, no way. I didn't.
I predicted.
I was like, what?
Reed and MSK would retain, and Rob predicted Legado would retain or regain those. I guess win for the first time the gold. Yeah. Which Rob, you were wrong on this one here. He's hiding his face in shame. There, he's not even on camera. So, all right. So we go on to the next match. Let's see here. Moving on to Mercedes Martinez versus Xia Li. So for this match, honestly, it was kind of a bit of a last minute kind of thrown together match. It felt like the story was going into it. They had a match in the Mae Young Classic 4 years ago where Mercedes Martinez destroyed Xia Li, who at that point, it was her first match, at least in WWE. So obviously the more experienced Martinez would end up picking up the victory here. But then, so that's kind of the story. Obviously, Xia Li is going through this kind of stage where she's being elevated with Tian Shaw or Tian, I forget what the name of the group is. Tian Shaw is the right name. And she went through the transformation. Honestly, this was a really solid match. I felt like for Xia Li being built up. They locked up and fell out of the ring, losing control. Martinez had the upper hand until Lee used an illegal hold to wear her down for the 5 count. Before the 5 count, Lee dominated for a bit until until Martinez avoided the kick and ringside. Let's see. Basically, she was working Martinez's ribs, so that was kind of the story there for a bit. Ultimately, it was Lee hitting that spinning kick that she hit. It looked very, very good, like it hit perfection on Martinez, and she picked up the victory there, defeating Martinez. James, you had Martinez. You had Martinez here. Rob, you also had Martinez, and I had Xia Li picking up the victory here. So look at that. I got the advantage here.
It's still early.
I'm sorry?
It's still early.
We'll see. But after the match, Xia Li was looking to punish Martinez even more. Martinez got a steel chair, taking out Boa. He took a number of chair shots and then also attacking Xia Li. Then we got to see Mei. Is that her name? Just got to confirm. Mei Ying, who has been sitting in the chair for a couple months now. She stood up. She went face to face with Martinez, grabbed her by the throat, and threw her off the ramp, making Martinez hit that plexiglass. So we finally got a little interaction there. We would find out on NXT, I guess we'll mention it really quick. Martinez isn't finished with them. So she's looking forward to continuing the feud. She says she's 1-1 with Xia Li. And she said next time she wouldn't give Mei Ying an opportunity to even get off her chair. So we'll see how that goes for Martinez there. Next up, we had perhaps the most expensive match of the show, literally and figuratively. It was the $1 Million Championship ladder match between one Cameron Grimes and LA Knight. Of course, we had the $1 Million Man, WWE Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase, watching ringside, enjoying the show. And first off, before we get into it, there was a great press conference on Saturday. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't, but I think, is that what you sent the link to?
I may have. If it did send link, it may have been. If it was on Saturday, I did send the link, but it was about 45 minutes. Go back. I mean, it was about TakeOver, but it was good. It featured all 5 competitors from the main event, as well as the women's title match, and then this match, the $1 Million Championship match. So it was a nice back and forth. Cameron Grimes was very much in character, and it was great. So let's get into it. DiBiase came out with 2 guards to hang the $1 Million title up in the rafters. Of course, they came out to the ring. Knight used his size advantage to push Grimes around at the bit of the start of the match. Grimes found a way to get the upper hand before Knight tried to bring in the first ladder into the ring. Grimes narrowly avoided getting crushed by a ladder a couple of times. They tried to use it as a weapon a few times unsuccessfully before it finally became a factor. Grimes sent Knight into a ladder with a beautiful release German suplex. That was a very nice German suplex. Knight ultimately hit a neck breaker onto the side of a ladder, which looked nasty. I think he landed on his shoulder on the ladder as well, so hurt him as well. They continued to go back and forth as they progressed to bigger spots. Grimes ended up bringing the biggest ladder into the ring, which was the gold ladder that they had previewed last week on NXT, which had obviously the $1 Million kind of logos around it. Both men climbed opposite ends and began to brawl at the top. Knight fell first, but knocked the ladder over to prevent Grimes from securing the belt. Grimes climbed part of the set. Basically, there's kind of like I don't know what you call it. They've had basically the pole or
whatever they use to hang it up.
Whatever they call, I forget, to hang up the lights and everything. They've used that. They've done
the scaffold.
The scaffold, I guess, yeah. to hold everything up. He climbed up the side. It's right next to the announce table, and he jumped on Knight, crashing onto him. He climbed up the ladder, and then Knight ultimately pushed him backwards, falling into another ladder on the ramp. LA Knight picked up the victory. We all predicted it. James, say it with me. Come on.
Nope.
LA Knight. Look, you turn on him so fast. You turn on him so fast. It's so sad. It's
all in the actions, right? And what the champion did the next night cannot be forgiven.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. But let's give it up for the champion. Look, I got a new background here. Look at that. Just for today, I got a new background.
You make me sick.
Look at that. Look at $1 Million Man Ted is laughing in the background. Look at that.
He wasn't laughing on Monday or whatever day it was.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, look at that.
What day? Tuesday. They're on Tuesdays now.
Oh my God, you're supposed to know this, James.
It's a lot to keep up with. There's something on every day.
There you go. But look at him. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, just search up Beyond the Ropes and you'll find numerous episodes on YouTube. Facebook.com/Beyond the Ropes, and you'll find those episodes there too. You can follow us at Beyond Real BTR on Twitter, Real BTR Radio on Twitter, at EthanMV95. James, where can they find you on Twitter?
At JHW Reporter.
And Rob, where can they find you?
Rob Flores Media.
And you know where you can find LA Knight on Twitter? You can find him at LA Knight WWE. I just gave him a follow because for some reason I wasn't following him. I followed him now.
You know what? If he was a real champion, he would be following us, but he's not. So he's not a real champion.
Well, you can say that about just about anyone because
no, can't say that about Natalya. Natalya was getting into it with Mandy Rose.
Oh, Lord.
Natalya follows me. She's a true champion. She even said it. She's triple crown champion. And she doesn't want to hear Mandy Rose and her photo shoot accolades.
Look, she's just jealous because she doesn't get a photo shoot like Mandy Rose.
She doesn't need a photo shoot. She's not there for photo shoots.
We'll talk about it once we get into Raw. Okay. You're changing the subject on the new $1 Million. Can you see it on my screen? That
looks like a photo from Impact.
LA Knight. No, that's the NXT crowd right there. Look at that $1 Million Ted. Come on, he's not gonna show up on Impact.
Show Tuesday's picture. What happened on Tuesday?
We'll talk about it because we only got a minute. We'll have to talk about it when we talk about NXT. We'll talk about NXT. Don't worry, because there's plenty to discuss about NXT. A very jam-packed show. But quickly before we go into that break, once again, the $1 Million megastar is now, we have to refer him as. Congratulations go to LA Knight. You predicted he would win. Rob predicted he would win. I predicted he would win. I don't know why he turned on him so quickly. You were having fun doing the whole thing, the gesture with me, and you just said no. And it's very disappointing to see. But
his actions, he didn't carry through on his actions. Now we have to go, or we're going to get fined $1 million.
Like a true $1 Million champion, he did what was best for him. And when we return, we're going to talk more In Your House as well as NXT. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 147 of Beyond the Ropes. Of course, I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst James Williams, and of course, producer Rob Flores. Look at that. Look at that background there. He's got going there. Not bad. Not as good as mine. Not as good as mine, but it's not bad.
Hey, look at y'all. Y'all crazy.
James, you're missing out here. We gotta get you.
Maybe next week.
Once you potentially get something next week, we'll get you your LA Knight background. All right.
No. No.
All right. Moving on to the next match. Of course, we just finished talking about the $1 Million ladder match. We'll talk more about it in a little bit. The aftermath, anyways. Let's talk about the NXT Women's Championship match, which we all predicted the champion would retain, and it was Go ahead.
So you're still ahead by a match then, right?
Correct. We all predicted she would win. She did retain. I'll quickly go through some of the material here. Moon hit a drop kick as soon as ref called for the bell. She was aggressive as she kept Gonzalez reeling with quick strikes. Gonzalez stopped her in her tracks by refusing to go down from a crossbody. She sent Moon flying into the barricade from the apron with a shoulder tackle. The powerhouse yanked Moon off the mat and into a sidewalk slam, which was into a one-arm sidewalk slam. I remember that spot. It was quite impressive. After a few minutes, Moon began to build some momentum with a series of strikes and a code red for a close 2 count. The former champion wrapped around the current champion into a submission, but Gonzalez made it to the bottom rope with Kai's help. Of course, Dakota Kai was ringside. Moon retaliated by taking Gonzalez out with a missile-like suicide dive. Gonzalez tried several things, but Moon refused to stay down for the pin. She hit Gonzalez with the Eclipse. When she went for the pin, Kai ultimately once again getting involved, putting Gonzalez's foot on the rope. This brought Blackheart out. I know Rob's favorite there. Blackheart, who has been dealing with an injury, made an appearance, taking Dakota Kai out. I think she even dropped her into one of the plants near the set, on the set, of course, of the In Your House set. Moon ended up hitting a tornado DDT onto the elevated platform next to the ring for a near fall. Ultimately, shortly after, she hit her power bomb to retain the title. Solid match. Again, we predicted Gonzalez would win. No surprise there. So we get into the next match, which is our main event. A fatal 5-way match for the NXT Championship, or as Kyle O'Reilly likes to call it, a 5-way fatality match, which I think it's a much cooler name, especially coming from Cool Kyle. But
totally cool.
Totally, yes.
Awesome, dude.
You agree, right?
Yes.
You at least we can agree on that.
So far, yes.
Throughout the night, however, we got a couple of segments featuring the competitors in this match. So we saw Kyle O'Reilly arriving, looking cool as ever with his fedora. And then we got to see The Way arriving. The Way, of course, Johnny Gargano, who was involved in the match. By the way, before I forget, The Way played tribute to The Click. I don't know if you saw those photos on Instagram. Phenomenal. Go on Triple H's page, go on NXT's page. You'll see the images there. Johnny Gargano was dressed as Shawn Michaels, of course, paying tribute. I believe Candice LeRae was dressed as Razor. Was it Razor? Or,
okay.
No, it was 1, 2, 3 Kid. Indy Hartwell was Razor, I believe. And then we had Austin Theory as Diesel.
Was Diesel. That's why he had the glove the next day. Okay.
And then we had their dog. I'm forgetting their name, but their dog was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He had the little
really?
little jacket, yeah. And of course, DX, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels got some pictures in. Go check that out on their Instagram. It was a nice little photo shoot. But anyways, they both arrived at the same time. Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly did, and there was a little interaction there. Regal had to get involved. And then later on in the evening, I believe it was Pete Dunne and Adam Cole. No, it was Pete Dunne and Karrion Kross having a backstage brawl. And I think the previous week it was also like Pete Dunne and Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory and Oney Lorcan backstage. So there was just havoc throughout the week involving these competitors, driving Mr. Regal over the edge, and we'll find out a little bit later. But so this match kicks off. Of course, everyone made their entrance. Adam Cole looking as great as ever. Cool new theme song, of course. Cool Kyle coming out. Pete Dunne wearing all white, paying I guess homage to his England soccer team. I think they were having a big game that day or something. And of course, as I mentioned, Johnny Gargano looking like dressed as Shawn Michaels, and then Karrion Kross making his impressive entrance. Let's see. At one point, Gargano and Dunn shoved Cross through the front door of the stage, which is nice. Funny enough, Gargano's for the second year in a row is the only one to come through the door of the entrance. Everyone else comes through the garage or whatever it is, the main entranceway. So that's nice for Gargano. I forgot to mention we had Michael P.S. Hayes as Doc. What was his name? I forgot his name.
Doc Hendricks. Is he trying to sell me some gimmicks?
That's right. So he did it. He did it on. I don't know if he did it last week too on NXT, but I know he did it a couple of times during Takeover as Doc Hendricks. So that's a nice little throwback there.
If I can, I want to use that moment there. Someone who does something similar in recent years for Impact, Don West, was recently diagnosed with brain lymphoma. From what I heard, I think Dave Meltzer, among some others, had reported that over the weekend, over the week, I guess. So sad news there. Thoughts and prayers with Don West and his family.
Yeah, hoping for a speedy recovery. Obviously, he was the voice of TNA along with Mike Tenay for a number of years, that original run, So definitely probably the most memorable announced team for TNA or Impact Wrestling for sure. Getting back into the match, they basically all ganged up against Cross, taking him out for a number of minutes throughout the match. When Cross returned, he dismantled every other competitor with a series of power moves. There was a fast-paced sequence with Dunn and O'Reilly. Cole and Gargano softened them up, so Cross could come in and beat everyone up. The challengers briefly worked together to take him down, but their alliance was quickly ended. Everyone came close several times, but ultimately it was O'Reilly who had Cole in a submission that he would not release. Of course, Adam Cole didn't tap out. But then Karrion Kross put on that cross jacket sleeper hold on O'Reilly, making him pass out, retaining the NXT championship. So that was basically NXT TakeOver in your house. Both of you predicted Kross would retain. I don't bet against Adam Cole, so it is what it is. I think.
So we all finished in the time.
Did we?
I think so.
No, we didn't. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5 matches. Rob got 1, 2, 3 out of 5. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4. So James and I tied 4 out of 5. Rob, you got 3 out of 5.
I'm still undefeated.
Undefeated in what, sir?
Haven't I finished first in every predictions this year? I think I did bad last week.
We have to. Well, Hell in the Cell's coming up. Our predictions will be up, so we'll see how that goes for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into some NXT. Do you have any numbers for NXT?
Yes, we do. Somewhere in my big pile of notes. Yes, somewhere. I wrote them down somewhere.
All right, so the show kicked off basically with when you find them, you go ahead and interrupt me. William Regal. No, basically at the end of NXT TakeOver in Your House, William Regal was leaving and he was seen crying. He had a tear in his eye.
You know what? I heard about that.
Yeah,
About I think Beth Phoenix was the one where it was a bit of a roller coaster, and part of that roller coaster was they made William Regal cry, and William Regal's as strong as a gimmick as it can get when it comes to professional wrestling. So, I mean, man, if they're wearing down William Regal, he needs some support, some backup, a buddy.
At the end of the night, he basically said he thinks it's time for a change. You could hear the crowd saying no, kind of speculating. Perhaps he was going to step down as NXT GM.
That's what it seemed like.
We go into NXT this week. He comes out. starts talking about how he's been with NXT from the beginning, from 10 years ago as an announcer. He and Triple H built NXT from the ground up as kind of this new version. Obviously, we had the original game show version, but I believe he was involved in still. But he mentioned being a commentator at the first Takeover event, and he's been the general manager for the last 7 years. Mm-hmm. And he said basically every time he's not been with his family, he's been with NXT, helping it grow. It went from a little show to an international show, talking about going to Japan, Australia, Europe, and gave San Jose a little shout out. I was there at that show, WrestleMania 31 weekend, saying we went from San Jose to Brooklyn. And yeah, it was a big deal, and he shed a couple of tears. There were some tears in his eyes.
You know what? There was probably tears among the 695,000 that also watched along with William Regal and everything else. So we'll see. It's going up. I mean, there was a tear in everyone's eye that night. It was an emotional night.
LA Knight was a ratings draw as a champion. I mean, $1 million champion.
That's not the night I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
Just the night. It was eventful.
It was eventful. Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, came out, and he was completely verbally abusing Mr. Regal. You know,
wouldn't be the first time someone's tried to abuse William Regal in that way.
No. Last week he even mentioned, Regal, it's not your NXT anymore, it's mine. This week he's, this past week he said, want you to go, quit, leave, and never come back. Want you to say Cross conquers all. And then we hear an iconic theme song. You didn't get a new theme song, sir. We get the return of one former 2-time NXT champion. I believe the first ever 2-time NXT champion. Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I think so.
The Samoan submission machine made his return after being released this past April. We'll talk about little details in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But he came out. The crowd loved it, of course. Cross was shocked, of course. He came out, basically said, Regal, you wanted to talk to me? Regal said, yeah, I wanted to talk to you out in the back, but since you're here. Basically said, I can no longer handle NXT. I want you to take over as GM. Samoa Joe respectfully declined, saying, I can never fill those shoes. The one thing I've always, you mentioned someone who's kind of verbally abused Regal. Samoa Joe was kind of the first guy to ever really do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. There's history there. And he basically said, even though, I've gone toe-to-toe with you, I've always respected you, and I can never take your job. But he said, I could always be someone that makes other people respect you and make sure, no one talks down to you again. And basically Regal laid it down and said, we can make that happen as long as, there's a couple of conditions. One, you cannot be an in-ring competitor.
Damn, two, they said that. They put it out there.
They put that out there. And two, you cannot put your hands on anyone.
Well,
unless provoked. He took a little pause there, and unless provoked. And he accepted, and he looked Cross in the eyes and said, what are you still doing here? He chumped Cross out. Cross then left the ring. And Samoa Joe is officially back in WWE under the NXT banner. Let's talk some details here before we get into the discussion. This comes from Wrestling Inc., which I believe comes from PW Insider that initially reported it. Samoa Joe is reportedly back with WWE after being released back in mid-April due to budget cuts. It was reported last week that NXT officials wanted to bring Joe back to work as an in-ring talent, and that he was briefly at the Performance Center in Orlando earlier in the week. PW Insider reports that Joe coming back is to exclusively work with the NXT brand. Joe's return to the company comes after Triple H reportedly snatched him back as soon as possible. A source noted that Triple H was not happy with Joe being let go, and wanted him back in NXT instead of going to work elsewhere away from WWE. Triple H was the point person responsible for signing Joe back in 2015, and at one point gave him a unique contract where he was able to continue working indie dates. Joe was not backstage at TakeOver in Your House on Sunday, and there's no word on when he will officially make his return. Spoiler alert, it was this past NXT. Joe has not wrestled since February 2020 due to concussion issues and was working as a Raw commentator at the time of his release. Of course, you remember the iconic reigning WrestleMania where he was wearing the poncho, kind of one of his last appearances there.
Yeah.
It was noted that when he was at the WWE Performance Center in recent weeks, he was not taking any bumps. Regarding Joe's in-ring future, it's believed that while he could wrestle at some point, that is not the goal with his upcoming return, as they want Joe to focus more on non-wrestling duties. It is possible that Joe's return is related to the NXT general manager, William Regal, teasing a change for NXT. Of course, we found that out. WWE is promising that there will be a follow-up to Regal's teaser on Tuesday's NXT, which, of course, we found out. Joe is now the enforcer. And yeah, that's basically it. Triple H was unhappy. Didn't like the fact that they released Samoa Joe. No one was really happy that we released Samoa Joe. I'm glad Triple H made the call, said, let's get him back to NXT, let's get him back to work. Any quick thoughts before we head to a commercial break?
A lot of thoughts. I can't make them quick. So we'll have to continue that after the break. But real quick, I'll throw a little nugget out there before we head to break. Renee Young and,
John Moxley.
Renee
Paquette.
And John Moxley welcomed, I believe, a baby girl over the weekend. Congratulations to them. And I believe Renee has recorded a couple podcasts ahead of time. One of her guests since the baby is John Moxley himself. So that would almost be a fun interview. Obviously, before the baby, I believe, was delivered.
I believe he has he's guest hosted. He's guest hosting. Oh. She said she's having people guest host. I believe he's
okay. Maybe I read the tweet wrong then. Okay.
Yeah, he said he's underqualified to guest host apparently. I did see that somewhere, but yeah, I think he guest hosted one of them. So she's gonna have a number of different guest hosts for her oral sessions, YouTube podcast, or it might be podcast everywhere. But yeah. So check that out. Congratulations to John Moxley and Renee Paquette. When we return,
go ahead.
When we return, we'll talk more NXT. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 147 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and producer, Rob Flores. You can follow me on Twitter at EthanMV95. You can follow the show on Twitter at RealBTR Radio. You can follow James at
JHW Reporter.
And you can follow Rob at
Rob Flores Media. And don't forget the R-Truth DMs for Ethan.
Once again, he no-showed Raw. He's still hosting that Raw Talk, I think. But yeah, I mean, Rob has kind of the worst $1 million champion in existence in his background right now. Of course, we're talking about Ted DiBiase Jr. And by the way, Maurice is there. You're the $1 million. There's the star right there, Maurice. You know, she's got her own reality show. She's married to The Miz, who's a success worldwide. What is it, James?
Speaking of reality shows, I believe they canceled or they're not renewing Total Bellas
or Total Bellas,
and maybe Total Divas as well. Or what is that? What it's called still?
Total Both Divas? Of them, yeah. There's Total Bellas and Total Divas. I mean, that would make sense. Total Divas hasn't been around for at least a year, obviously due to pandemic. But it's gone on for about 8 or 9 seasons. It's a long time. So Total Bellas,
and I heard
5 seasons, 4 5 seasons. So
I heard the Bella ratings that went down once Cena was off the scene, no longer to be seen.
Rumor has it the Bellas might be making another in-ring return.
Where?
What do you think? What do you think, James? I hope not.
Impact.
I hope so. I don't have to watch them.
AAA.
Uh,
They're not getting back in the ring. She didn't even want Daniel Bryan back in the ring.
Well, that might be part of the deal. Who knows?
And who's the other one? Oh, the other one was married to Cena, but not, or was going to be with. Yeah.
So, anyways, NXT, obviously, Samoa Joe. Talk about Samoa Joe, James.
Yes, Samoa Joe. I tease you guys with some thoughts on Samoa Joe. I don't know if this is back-to-back now, big release classes, I guess we'll call them. But someone comes back almost immediately. Maybe not as...
It was a mistake.
Maybe not... Huh?
It was a mistake. It should have never happened.
It shouldn't have. You know what? I give Joe credit, first of all, just for even deciding and wanting to come back. Because he could have not have come back at all.
Where was he going to go?
He could have gone anywhere he wanted. But then again, it also comes down to the money. Yes, Triple H brought him back. They found money from somewhere, right?
A future. There's a future. You got to think about longevity, James. What is he going to do in age? He's going to be another commentator with Mark Henry, Big Show.
No. But the thing is if he really wanted to compete, he could have competed in some of these other companies.
If WWE isn't allowing him to compete, you would think, I'm not saying they probably wouldn't let him compete elsewhere, but it wouldn't be a smart idea for him to compete elsewhere.
Why not? Why wouldn't that? Because one, that's the same thing they were saying with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan waited it out and didn't make it on. Christian waited it out. They gave him a match, but now he has to compete. He has to go to another show.
Well, he ran away. It's Christian. You know, come on.
Christian's a champion.
I like Christian, but you know
Anyways. We're not going to slander Christian on this show. We're not going to do that.
Well, let's talk about the $1 million. Go ahead.
No. Well, we're going to get into that too.
We're on borrowed time, sir. Come on. Go ahead.
No, I can take the whole segment if I want to, sir.
Sir.
So
we're about to feature and endeavoring someone. Go ahead.
You're going to feature endeavor me? I'll be back in 2 weeks. Your ratings are going to go down. You're going to need me back, sir. So yeah, I mean, it takes a big man in Samoa Joe to, you know, have your name thrown out there the way that it was. Smart on him for deciding not to say much of anything, if at all. I think he maybe had one little tweet after the release, but you know, Joe was going to be well taken care of either way, but nice to see Joe back. I thought it was interesting and almost a teaser, which makes you maybe believe he might come back sooner than we think. Maybe by them throwing out there, he's not going to wrestle. So let's get that clear now. Like, come on, guy.
They definitely teased a few dream matches, obviously, with Cross. Later on, he did break up a brawl between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm. Adam Cole got handsy.
He got a little handsy.
And he paid for it. I know that's your guy, but he
did pay. He did suffer the consequences. I will say that. Maybe he should let that show. I will admit that, but
he took a nap.
Joe, for future reference, that Joe gets one. Future reference. He better not lay his hands on Adam Cole again. It's not gonna end well for Joe. He'll send him back to retirement. I mean, you know. But anyways.
Okay, wait, real quick though. So you mentioned dream matches and whatnot. They had the face off with Joe and Cross. We talked about that in the last segment. I think if there is someone who's gonna knock Cross off and who's the caliber, who has, you know, someone that you can believe in to beat Cross, yada. No, it is Samoa Joe.
We'll see. Definitely.
If it was Adam Cole would have done it already. He hasn't.
Well, he's got some unfinished business with Kyle O'Reilly because in 3 weeks' time, I guess 2 weeks' time now, the Great American Bash is returning July 6th. It'll be a special episode of NXT. It will be a one-on-one match between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. So that should be a stellar matchup between those two. Okay. Unfinished business. Moving on to the $1 million celebration, the inauguration, if you will, of one. Say it with me.
No.
L.A. Night. Of
Depending
course.
On how this segment ends, when we finish talking about it, I'll let you know if I'm doing your thing.
All right. It's going to be $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase introducing one LA Knight. Got a new Titantron. He's got a new T-shirt. Did you see the T-shirt, James?
I didn't see his T-shirt. I don't pay attention. I might as well just block LA Knight at this
It's on
point.
Facebook. I tagged you in it. It looks great. I'm gonna buy it. All right, when it's going on.
I don't check Facebook.
Oh, okay. No.
I mean, I do, but
do better. Okay.
Maybe.
All right, and then LA Knight came out, and he spent a good couple minutes praising Ted DiBiase. I will say, he said he grew up with them. He and his dad watched the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. He said he had a figure with his, that came with the $1 Million title. He said he was very grateful for the opportunity, very humble. I mean, the crowd wasn't buying it because the crowd, they're idiots. But LA Knight was pouring his heart out, and they were chanting for Cameron Grimes, that bum. He needs to buy a T-shirt. Buy him a T-shirt. He has all the money in the world. He now wear a T-shirt. Where is that?
He doesn't need a T-shirt.
Lord, with all that chest hair, I guess not. But
no, he's warm. He stays warm on his own.
They got AC in the Capitol Wrestling Center, I'm sure. Well, actually, with all those people in there, probably smells in there too. But LA Knight praised him, and then he basically said, he got the title and basically said, it's time to do what's necessary. It's time to get rid of what I don't need anymore. And boom, he smacked the WWE Hall of Famer in the face. And
Ted DiBiase can still take a bump. I'll give him that.
He can take a bump. Good for Ted. And then he took a few more kicks. He was kicking him, kicked the man down. And I gotta say, LA Knight, all LA Knight did was take out the trash. Honestly,
he put the boots to the $1 Million Man. You can't disrespect the $1 Million Man. One of the best theme songs in all of pro wrestling. I just play randomly on occasion when I'm mad. I almost said the P word, but when I'm mad.
You know what? Before I'm sure you're gonna go off on LA Knight. No. What Ted DiBiase Jr. That hack is not coming back. He's busy being a real estate agent or something. I don't know.
He's getting in trouble.
Oh, that's right. There were some things there.
Yeah.
We just posted on Instagram the other day, so I don't know what he's doing. But anyways, LA Knight, before you go off on him, as you may or may not, I don't know what you're gonna say. LA Knight did the $1 million thing. That's what Ted DiBiase would have done in his heyday. Okay, don't tell me Ted DiBiase wouldn't have done the same thing LA Knight did. Come on now.
You're absolutely right. The $1 Million Man would have put the boots on LA Knight if it was the other way around, without a doubt about it. So I know the $1 Million Man's not upset about it, but he had his guard down. He's a little bit older. If it was a shoot fight, he would have taken him out.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Nonetheless, LA Knight,
the $1 Million Man would have paid him off, and LA Knight would have been on his back just like every other opponent. The $1 Million Man's face, except for, and then there was.
Didn't he lose to Virgil?
Everybody has a price. Just remember
that. Everyone does have a price. Apparently, Cameron Grimes has a price because he came out, made the save, put his hands on the $1 Million Man, LA Knight. That's what I'm going to refer to him as now. The $1 Million Man, the $1 Million megastar, LA Knight. Forget man, he's a megastar. Got a new T-shirt. I love it. So this feud is continuing on, and I love this segment. I thought it was a great segment. I thought LA Knight rose his stock. I thought Cameron Grimes is a good babyface. Still a hack for not wearing a shirt, but it's all right.
I think it's sad to see. Maybe we'll see the $1 Million Man now run off in the sunset here, or maybe sticks around for a little bit longer and kind of takes Cameron Grimes under his wing. I think everyone seems to be behind Cameron Grimes. There was a good video out there on Cameron Grimes. I think I might have shared it already, but he lost his father, I believe, right before joining the WWE. Very touching video. Make sure you guys go check out that radio interview. I believe that was with Tommy Dreamer, an interview with Tommy Dreamer on his Sirius radio show, Busted Open, I think. So go ahead and look at that interview, and you'll find out more about what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. NXT overall was a great show this past week. I'm not going to get into too much detail. There was a great tornado tag match to main event the show. But we're looking forward to the coming weeks, the Great American Bash. Obviously, Hell in a Cell happened. We'll talk about it on next week's episode. You'll see our predictions, of course, on Twitter. So make sure you check those out. Monday Night Raw, we got to see their legendary return of one Eva Marie, and she got a victory over Naomi. Well, technically, Piper Niven from NXT UK, although she was nameless in her debut. Apparently, no one knew who she was. So disrespect to NXT UK, which is a shame. But Eva Marie got the victory through Piper Niven hitting that Michinoku driver on Naomi. Interesting segment there. See where that relationship goes. I'm sure we'll get a name soon, hopefully. What else are we missing here? Talking about Roman Reigns, he abolished Rey Mysterio, I'm sure, at Hell in a Cell. We'll talk about it next week.
We'll see.
Jimmy and Jay. Jimmy needs to get his stuff together, Just gotta say
Why
that.
Jimmy? Jimmy's just trying to help his brother.
Yeah, he's trying to bring him down. You know this.
Maybe. A little bit.
Yeah, exactly. We had main event Jey Uso for several months.
And he doesn't
get mid-card Jey Uso if he's not careful.
I understand completely. They do. Can they support each other and be at each other's side? Yes, sure. By all means, knock yourselves out. Tag team? No. I'm not looking for main event Uso. I'm looking for main event Jay.
Exactly. And Naomi's husband.
And Naomi's husband.
Jimmy.
Also
known as Jimmy.
Speaking of couples, real quick, I believe Bianca Belair was on The Bump and was talking about, I'm sure, some other things, but also gave an update on Montez Ford.
He got that giant. He got a couple of splashes from Otis, beardless Otis. Lost that beard, and squashed him, and I believe he suffered some bruised ribs. So
something like that. The Belair went on to say during the interview that there was no collapse lung. I guess that had been reported or whatever. I thought it's been kind of interesting because I've only been following that particular storyline based on what has been said just on Twitter and the way they've kind of handled it and provided updates. I thought that has been kind of interesting, kind of good to see. Good use of social media. I'm sure they've done it before. It's not some earth-shattering new idea, but I think it's good, and it's kind of helped bring some attention and bring my attention to what has happened to Montez Ford.
Absolutely. As we're getting ready to close the show in a couple of minutes or so, SummerSlam tickets are now available. Las Vegas, and of course, yours truly is waiting for that pre-sale. Right, James? Going on that road trip?
Possibly. I have to line some dates up, but maybe. You
gotta let me know because tickets are available now. As this goes up. They will be in the next, as we're recording this next couple of days, tickets. They've already given out every pre-sale code imaginable for pre-sale. So
I got two other little tidbits for you. So apparently, also mentioned on The Bump, I guess Kofi Kingston is having another child as well. Obviously, he's not pregnant, but
his wife posted the other week. Yeah. Congrats to them. They'll have a third child.
And we mentioned Bianca Belair earlier. I'm calling it up now, so I gotta have it down. But the SBs are going to be returning. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be in LA or I'm assuming it would be in LA. I'm not sure how they're handling that with restrictions and whatnot. Obviously, things have opened up in California. But if the SBs are live in LA with the red carpet and everything, I will try my best to be there for you and talk to a couple wrestlers like I have the last 2 times I've been out to the SBs. With that said, the best WWE moment is a category again in 2021. And
name them. Name the nominees.
I am. If you let me just get to them. No.
Master.
So okay. Do they have a few categories? I guess best match. Dominic Mysterio's in-ring debut with his dad at his side, or Roman Reigns returns to a line. I don't know how that's best match. Okay, wait. or Roman. Oh, I think they're doing voting by matches. But anyways, let me start over. Dominic's in-ring return, and Roman Reigns' return to SmackDown and aligning with Paul Heyman.
Mm-hmm. That wins, of course.
What?
That's gonna win, of course.
Maybe. You also have Goldberg returning to face Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. You also have Pat McAfee confronting and punting your guy, Adam Cole.
I don't recall that.
You also have a commercial. Hold on. Okay. And then it's Keith Lee breaks Adam Cole's record of 403 days as the NXT champion.
Where is
Keith?
At
the Great American Bash.
Keith Lee's still hiding? Keith Lee's still hiding somewhere?
He's beat the record. He has nothing else to prove. And then you also have Sasha versus Bianca. Bianca becomes the first black woman to win. Sasha and Bianca become the first black women to battle in a WrestleMania main event. I think that one has a chance of winning. You also have Edge winning the men's Royal Rumble and becoming the third person to ever win it from the number one spot.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. And then you have Kevin Owens stunning Logan Paul, whatever, at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a grab, I think. And a small little commercial here. Give me a second.
No Roman Reigns stacking him
Hold
up.
Hold on. You got Sasha Banks winning the women's title at Hell in a Cell for SmackDown. You have Randy Orton setting the Fiend on fire in TLC. They actually got a lot of categories on here, but they kind of want you to vote 2 at a time or whatever to kind of get through. We're almost done here. The Undertaker celebrates his 30th anniversary and gives his final farewell. Bobby Lashley wins the WWE Championship for the first time. I know we're running close to the wire here. Almost done. Small little commercial. Bayley turns on Sasha. Bad Bunny teams with Damian Priest and unveils the Bunny Destroyer, his version of the Canadian Destroyer.
Oh, Lord.
Very impressive. The Miz cashes in Money in the Bank at Elimination Chamber to become the first 2-time Grand Slam champion. And then you have Bianca Belair again with the second shot here in this category, winning the Royal Rumble and setting a record for the longest time spent in the match. I think Bianca has to be the favorite after a big year with 2 different categories in there, or 2 different entries, I guess you can say, or moments. Sure. Should be fun to see.
Where's Roman Reigns headlining, closing out the real main event of WrestleMania?
Nope. What? Didn't make it. The ESPYs will be on June. Oh, the Final Four will be unveiled on June 25th. The ESPYs will be held on July 10th.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see my tribal chief take some more gold, take some more trophies, if you will.
If he is there, I will talk to the tribal chief again. Didn't get him on record, but did speak briefly with him in passing on a very hot day on the red carpet.
You need to record that for me and tell him that I acknowledge him. And I hope you would acknowledge him too, if you mean him. Anyways, until then, this episode has been an absolutely $1 million one, of course, and it's been too sweet.